We have breaking news. This is a statement from former President Donald Trump. These are dark times for our nation as my beautiful home, Mar-a-Lago in Palm Beach, Florida, is currently under siege, raided and occupied by a large group of FBI agents. Nothing like this has ever happened to a president of the United States before. After working and cooperating with the relevant government agencies, this unannounced raid on my home was not necessary or appropriate. It is prosecutorial misconduct, the weaponization of the justice system, and an attack by radical left Democrats who desperately don't want me to run for president in 2024, especially based on recent polls, and who will likewise do anything to stop Republicans and conservatives in the upcoming midterm election.
In order for you all to believe that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are the good guys and women, there has to be some villains. There has to be some boogeymen that would come and devour you up in the night. So the propaganda is creating a villain or boogeyman to get you to lean on Joe Biden and Kamala Harris.
Black community, my question to you is,
respect my authority.
Yesterday, it was reported that Project Veritas had obtained a copy of an FBI training material, which listed various symbols and themes which, in the FBI's estimation, were indicative of, quote, militia violent extremism. Now, these symbols weren't things like the Ku Klux Klan or the Nazi Party, which naturally would be symbols of that, but instead they included, rather astonishingly, patriotic symbols of our nation and our history. Included on this list is the Betsy Ross flag. Now, that's fairly remarkable that the Betsy Ross flag in the FBI's indication is indicative of militia violent extremism. It's not just the Betsy Ross flag. Also on this list is the Gadsden flag as a symbol of violent extremism. Now, the state of Virginia has a license plate for the Gadsden flag, as do many other states. I think people would be astonished to find that having that license plate, the FBI indicates that you're a violent extremist.
Now, I know this is going to be difficult for many of you all to grasp, but basically, they want you to believe that Trump and his followers plan to do something to Joe Biden. You have to have a boogeyman or a villain to make the Democrats, the liberals, and Joe Biden and Kamala Harris seem like the good guys and women.
Also included on this is a text that I was particularly struck is the Gonzales battle flag. Come and take it. As indicative of being a violent extremist militia. Well, I will self-report right now that every day in the Senate I wear my boots that have the Gonzales battle flag on the back of them. Director Wray, what are y'all doing?
Black community, my question to you is, if this white supremacy system can make domestic boogeymen out of white Americans, what makes you think that they will not have you labeled as a domestic boogeyman? But yes, keep voting Democrat. It's working so well for you.
Now, based on the fact that Joe Biden can barely complete a sentence, based on the fact that he could barely keep a coherent thought, based on the fact that he can barely walk upstairs, based on the fact that he can't even ride a bike, should let you all know that there's no evil, ingenious plot to remove him from the seat of presidency. If it is, it's being done by his own administration.
What is happening to the FBI? We have information from Project Veritas and other whistleblowers inside the FBI that have brought out the type of things that they now consider to be violent extremism. Let me tell you about some things that they do find to be militia violent extremism. Things you might be familiar with, like the Gadsden flag. That's a common flag. I actually have it outside of my congressional office. This is a flag representing gun rights and limited government. They definitely have the Betsy Ross flag. Of course, they have it on there. Second Amendment logos are considered militia violent extremism. That's pretty terrible. terrifying when the FBI now considers Second Amendment logos to be violent extremism. The Punisher skull. You remember the Punisher logo? If you remember Chris Kyle, the great American sniper that we consider to be a hero, the Punisher logo was represented his entire group. They had it on their Humvee. They had it on much of their clothing, their bags. But now the Punisher skull is considered to be militia violent extremism. Now there's another name that they've actually put on the list. Talk about certain individuals to be martyrs. And one of the names they just recently added is Ashley Babbitt. But yet now her name is on this FBI militia violent extremism list. This is completely wrong. This is absolutely wrong.
Now, their goal is to label anyone a domestic terrorist for whatever reason. Their goal is to be able to label anyone a domestic terrorist for whatever reason. And if they label you a domestic terrorist for whatever reason, you will not have a trial by jury. You won't have due process. I'm just telling you what the goal behind all of this is. If you go against January 6th, or you go against the Peter pandemic, if you go against the snake bite, you go against climate change, they're going to label you a domestic terrorist, and they're not going to care about your race.